But that's a nice piece of gold. Don't bite me. Ah, naughty, naughty. Don't bite. You be good. You be good. You be good boy. Eh? Cooker. Come on. Come on. Don't bite. Don't bite. Good lad. He's a good boy. Now, it's very micro scale, as I said, in a bucket. And I've set up a drill on top to rotate a mixer, an agitator, which is down here. Yeah, g'day, g'day, g'day. Well, I'm doing something a little bit different today, or over the next couple of days. Not out in the creek. What I'm going to attempt is some eco-friendly gold leaching of ore using anion exchange resin. Now, this is, micro scale, by the way, too. Only a very small scale, because I haven't got a whole lot of ore. I'll be doing probably about 20 pounds, I suppose, in a bucket. So I'll show you the process, and win or fail, if you want to come along for the ride and just see how I go, because I don't know what the end result will be. I don't know how good the ore is. It was high grade, but I've panned all the gold out of it, right down to even the slurry gold. So I just crushed up what was left, fine, and I'll be throwing that in a bucket and agitating it with a thing called Eco Gold X. Now I can blame Keith Bowen for this. Keith, it's your fault. Yeah, he inspired me to try this. Of course, we can't obtain cyanide to leach ore in Australia here, unless you're a big mine. You can use cyanide leaching, but anion exchange resins have been used in the Soviet Union for a couple of decades, but here in Australia they still sort of stick to the traditional methods of crushing the ore in a heap leach, leaching it with cyanide, and then what goes into the pond contains the gold. They put it up into silos of activated carbon, which capture it, and then they take it off to be treated in one way or another. So this is using a hard gel-based anion resin, a hard base, yeah, not a soft base, but a hard base gel resin. Now, I'm not so sure of the science. I've studied a little bit about it, and what it basically is, you're not actually filtering off the gold as such with like an activated carbon. It works on ion exchange, so you got positive ions, negative ions, and then of course gold apparently, and that is basic. So by using this Eco Gold X, gold friendly gold leaching reagent, you change the pH of the solution, and then when it's put through the filter of the resin, it's to do with positive and negative ion exchange. One replaces the other, so to capture the precious metals. So that's how it sort of basically works. I'm no scientist. I just hope that this thing works. Now, the resin I'm using is one I bought online. It's not the one I really wanted. I was trying to get an amberjet 4200. Apparently that by Roman Hass. Apparently that's discontinued. That's been discontinued, and there's another one called Amber Light. And I thought, well, light, but light-based resin. It's supposed to be a hard-based resin that you should use, and also a gel-based, not a macroporous, because the macroporous apparently traps the precious metals inside the pores of it and makes it harder to extract. But I'm going to sort of try and do basically just ash the resin. Hopefully I can just ash the resin. I've got a Muffle furnace, and I've attached a little activated carbon filter to it, so we'll see how we go. And if you want to come along for the ride, and hopefully we all learn something, win or fail, or succeed or fail. So I'll just show you basically my setup, what I've got set up here. Alright, rotate a mixer, an agitator, which is down in there, which is just a paint stirrer with a couple of bits of paddles attached, and that's what I'll be putting the ore in, and agitating that for, I think it's about 4 to 6 hours or something. So yeah, very basic. Right, so once I've done the leaching, the solution I will be putting here in that bucket, the bucket that's there with the ore, will go here, and then I'll pump it using this little peristaltic pump, so it doesn't need air. It runs with some roller bearings, and it'll actually suck. And then I'll send it through here into a filter cartridge, and that cartridge then I'll have the resin in, and then of course from there I'll just pump it out into another bucket to capture what comes out that end. Okay, so that's the plan. Yeah, that's just mounted. It's got a little motor in the back, and I'll just run that off a cordless battery, a couple of alligator clips, which I've already tried. It does work. It does run and pumps it through, and it's already pumped this filter full and had it coming out the end, but I was only just using ordinary water. Okay, so so if after the resin gets anything in it, and I won't know whether it's got anything in it because I have no way to send any samples off to get assayed. It'll just be hit and miss if it's got any gold in it or anything like that. It'll either be in there or it won't be. So what I'm going to do is once the resin is loaded, if it does get loaded, I'll dry it in an oven, and then I will put it in my little Muffle furnace here. I'll show you, to ash it. I'll just show you this furnace. Right, so that's my little Muffle furnace, and it's got the air breather here. I'll just show you. It's a very old-fashioned one, of course. More of a Capel oven. I've used it for Capeling. But that's it there, and it should run up, well it does run up well over 1750 degrees. So when I go to ash the resin, there it is there. You can buy these Muffle furnaces. They're not that expensive actually, but this is a real old one. What I've done, I've made up this plate. Now that laugh, it goes on there over the front like that. It'll push on the front, and this is the funny part. It's a watering can nozzle. There it is there. I've pop riveted on. I've got liquid steel around it, and I'm hoping that any fumes that escape will go into this. And what I'm going to do with this, because it's got holes in it, I'm going to pack it with activated carbon, and then I'll put a bit of steel screening over this to hold it in like a fly screen, bit of steel fly screen over it, and I'll sort of pack it in there fairly hard. The only thing is I hope I can get it out of there, and this is only a precaution to capture anything if it does escape. If it does escape, I don't know if I can start that thing on again. It's really hard to start it up. Yeah, there it is. Alright, so don't laugh. This is very makeshift. So that's it there. Yeah, little muffle furnace with the cover over the breather plate, and that just comes off. It's pretty tight fit actually. It's pretty tight fit. I'm going to cut that out a little bit bigger yet with a set of snips, just to make the hole a bit bigger. It's about the same size as the nozzle. So that's it there. Well, there you go. So that's another stage. And then of course it'll have to hit the furnace, my furnace. Alright, first things first, we've got to leach this ore and hope that we put it through. Now the resin I wanted to use was a thing called Amberjet 4200 OH, and it's been discontinued. So the replacement for it now is called Amberlite HPR 4200 OH, and it's made by a company called Rohm and Hass. That's ROHM and Hass, HASS. But I wasn't able to sort of find it online. Well, you can find it, but I can't find the company that supplies it here in Australia. So I just bought a hard base gel, hard gel based resin online. I bought two actually, two different types, so I'll show you later which ones I used. Alright. An ion is an ion that has gained one or more electrons acquiring a negative charge. A cation is an ion that has lost one or more electrons, gaining a positive charge. Cations are positive and ions are negative. So as I said, it's all about, that's why they're called an ion exchange. You're exchanging positive for negatives, and gold is basic, so because you change the pH of the solution, it must give it a positive charge, I think. So when it goes through the gel resins, it exchanges, if you know what I mean, negatives for positives and so on. That's how it works. That's how it captures it. And I mean, that's very basic layman's terms. I don't really know. So that part of it, yeah, I'm yet to understand. All I'm hoping is that it works. That's the main thing. Just adding the crushed ore. Before I had the Eco Gold X. And this is the Eco Gold X O series. Low toxic and effective gold ore leaching reagent. Right, I've got a few bags of that. That's just one small bag there. And then I've got another product here, a 20 kilo bag, which in time I will compare them. This one's called CN Light from China. Eco-friendly gold leaching reagent. Eco-friendly gold leaching reagent. Yeah, CN Light. I believe they are using this in Western Australia, I think. Yeah. But for now, I'm just going to use the Eco Gold XO series. I think that stands for oxide. They have an S series for sulphide, but this says it does both oxides and sulphides. This one's supposed to be sulphides, sulphide ore. So yeah, I've got enough there to run a gold mine. Pity I didn't have one. Okay. Alright, so I've just added some garden lime to get the pH to where I want it. About 10.5 to 11 pH. And I'll just have to keep mixing before I add the Eco Gold X, apparently. I've just got a little digital pH meter, so I have to keep checking that. Right, that's one of the resins I'm using. The Tri-Light SM210, and I'm worried about the light, what that means. Whether it's actually a hard base resin, because the hard base is the best. It is a gel. And then there's this one, which is the Watted Ultra Pure 1292, made in Germany. The black one there for water filters. There's another one there. Alright. So, that's all I could get at the moment, so I hope that it'll work. Very hit and miss. An experiment. We'll see what happens. And come along for the ride. Right, so I'm pumping the solution, which you can see is pretty clear. I just happened to have the hose fall into the bottom, which now has dirtied that up. Damn it. That's got 100 grams of resin in it, in the filter. And it's just pumping through there now with a little peristaltic pump going. So I'll have to keep an eye on this hose that doesn't go into the bottom. Terrible conditions here today and last night. Hardly what you call ambient. It's cold. It's almost gone back to winter. And the wind and the rain and horrendous, almost cyclonic. Right, so what I've done, all up I've probably got about 20-25 pound of finely crushed ore, and I've only been able to get sort of about 10 pound in that bucket there, and get it mixing around and leaching. So It ran last night from about 5 in the afternoon till nearly midnight, about 11:30 or something like that, but the weather was atrocious and I couldn't stay outside. So I just let it settle. When I came out this morning, it was all on the bottom, and the liquid was just a light sort of ambery colour in it, and I pumped that through the canister filter with about 100 grams of exchange resin in it. So I'm just running it again. What I drained off, and just put it back in the bucket, and I'll spin it for a while longer, and then let that settle again. Then I'll have to do the other lot. So anyway, I'll get back. It's still windy and horrible today. Horrible. Looks like it could rain any minute. Alright, keep going. So when it was all done, what was left in the bucket after I filtered it all off through the resin, I panned out that 10 pound of crushed ore and all that. Panned the whole lot out quickly, mind you. Just went real quick through the whole lot. Just kept panning, and then got right down to the bottom. And you know, there's still gold in there. Let me show you. Look at that. Just ever so fine, the gold there. And there's copper, big copper, which obviously wouldn't leach. But there is some small pieces of gold in there that were obviously encapsulated in stone. But look at that fine gold there. It's just there's black sand. That's what come out of it. That amount of black sand, out of that whole 10 pound of crushed ore. But there's gold at the top, just a fine mist of gold. Unbelievable. I would have threw that away. Yeah, I would have thrown that away, but I thought I'll just check it to see if there's any residue of gold in it. And there it is. So we live and learn. Like that's been leaching now for, I think it was 7 hours, and then I done it yesterday for about 5 or 6. A second round. I filtered it through 100 grams of resin, and then I took that out and I put another 100 grams of resin in and filtered through again, and that looks like it hasn't discoloured very much. So, but I'll just show you the resin that I got out of it and what it looks like. Right, it's in there. The resin's in there. I've got to dry it yet. Got to wash it and dry it. But that's one lot. And that's the next lot. So it's hardly discoloured it. So you know, I could have left that in there and run another batch through it. But anyway, it's interesting to note that hopefully everything I caught in the first 100 grams of resin. But that was interesting just to see that little slurry of gold in the pan after I panned out everything that was left in the bucket. Yeah, amazing. So let's say the heavier stuff still falls to the bottom and it doesn't go into solution. Alright, I'll keep on going. Okay, so the next step is I've got to wash the beads, the resin beads, up in distilled water, and then I have to dry them in an oven at low temperature. Just dry them, I'm not sure what, 450 degrees or something like that. Dry them out, and then I'll have to ash them in my muffle furnace, and then hopefully smelt them. So that's the process. So I'll keep going. Right now I'm washing the resin in distilled water, but I'm not sure. It sort of says deionized water. I can't really get access to that. They're not quite the same, because distilled water has no minerals in it, but it's still a conductor of electricity, whereas deionized water has the minerals in it, but the ions, the molecular ions are not there, so put it that way. So I don't know, I can't do much about it. I'm just using distilled water to wash the resin. Hopefully if there's no minerals in it, then the minerals won't be attracted into the resins. So that's probably why they use deionized, because there's no ions, and it is an ion exchange resin. So I don't know the consequences of all of that. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But all I've got is distilled water to wash them in, so I have to use that. Hope for this. Now it says with the Eco Gold X, gold leaching is relatively 1.5 to 2 times shorter than using sodium cyanide. So for vat leaching, 3 to 4 days per batch. For an agitated tank leaching, that's what I'm using, 12 to 25 hours. And for heap leaching, where they usually set up sprinklers on top of full crushed ore heaps, 2 to 3 weeks for heap leaching. So I'm using the agitating tank. So hopefully 12 to 25 hours, probably 12 hours, if I can maintain that pH correct. I think I said about 10.5, but it's telling me about 11 to 11 and a half. You've got to be so precise, because it doesn't want you to go over 12. So I just added a little bit more. I was sitting around about 10 and a half, so I just added a little bit more sodium hydroxide, bit of lye, bit of caustic soda, to just take it up a little bit more. Alright, so that's the reason why I'm using this stuff. And of course I can't get cyanide here. You just wouldn't buy it in Australia unless you're a full-scale mine or something. So the beauty with this stuff, like I said, it's environmentally friendly, non-combustible, non-explosive, non-toxic, although you probably should wear gloves and so forth when you're mucking around with it. But all in all, it can be transported by train, air or ship, and there's no problems getting it here through customs, which I was surprised. Even the one from China, I got that one in, and this one, the Gold X, comes from Canada. So and I'm excited. Now the rate of recovery, what they say is, most people say, I want to achieve 100% recovery rate. Well, they say, it may be doable, but it may not be doable economically. So they're saying if everything is right, everything squares up okay, then you should at least achieve heap leaching between 75 and 85%. For vat leaching, between 85 and 90% recovery. And for an agitation tank leaching, 90 to 99%. So if everything's in your favour, your pH is right, ambient temperatures are right, you've got the right anion exchange resins, and everything goes okay, that's sort of your optimum recovery rates. So that's pretty good. Hopefully that's the case. Right, so here's just a little diagram that I drew of an ion exchange column configuration. Basically that's sort of what I've got anyway in my system. You got the gold thiosulfate in solution, peristaltic pump up through a column, showing here glass wool. Well, I've got a filter in mine, a canister filter inside it. The resin, glass wool on the bottom, back into the circuit. That's the circuit, but I'm just taking my solution away and rather than use it again, just neutralise it and get rid of it. Yeah, because I'm not doing this as a professional gold mining so-called setup. And look at that, a piece of gold. Piece of gold in there. How did I miss that? All the black sand. This is what's left. I've been panning it out. But that's a nice piece of gold. A lot of black sand. Now, how did that get missed? Honestly, that has been originally panned and then it's all been ground up. Like I panned everything out of it in the beginning and then ground it all up, panned it again, and that's what went into the leach. And there's a piece of gold there as big as the head of a nail. How the hell did I miss that? Honestly. And it cleaned it all up, I suppose. Maybe it looked like a piece of copper. There's a lot of native copper in there, a lot of chunks of copper in the stuff. But anyway, I leached it for 12 hours, agitate and tank. And now, like I did with the last batch, I'm just panning it out to see what's left over. I haven't got to the bottom yet. The last one I got a little slurry of gold at the end of it. But and I done it pretty quickly, just put the whole friggin' 10 pound or so into the pan and just panned it quickly and got right down at the bottom. But I just happened to see that sitting on top of the black sand. Now, when all that stuff was panned in the beginning, there was very little, if any, black sand. And even the second time round, when I ground it up and panned it again, very little black sand. But now I've done the leach, there's pounds of it, pounds of black sand. So anyway, it's a mystery journey, and I'm learning as I go along. So maybe you will too, or maybe somebody can tell me what's going on a bit. I have no idea. Okay, I'll keep going. That's unbelievable. There's another piece of gold. Another bit. There could even be more in here yet. I just give it one more backwash and that was there. Like the last one was a picker. This one, not quite. Not quite a picker. But that's still a nice piece of gold. Unbelievable. And I'll keep going. Yep, there it is again. Look at that, fine slurry of gold. I mean, that is minute. But I can see it, there's enough of it to see it, right on the edge. Incredible. So that means, you just will not get it all. There's going to be a certain amount that you're going to have to throw out. You won't know about it, but you'll be throwing it out. I don't think there's any way to gain 100% of all the gold that's in the ore or whatever. You've got to be prepared for losses, because that's just letting me know that if I'd have just thrown those tailings away, there's losses. So, and I hate losses. I don't like losing anything, but if anything, the leaching process has exposed the fact that there is still gold there, but whether it's worth it or whether it's viable. I mean, those couple of pickers there, or one picker and the other one was a bit smaller, but that's still an unacceptable loss that I wouldn't like to have lost. But the gold slurry, you haven't finished yet, but I'll suck that up. And it goes into a snuffer bottle with all of the fine stuff, which I'm going to put straight in a funnel through a rag or a tissue, and eventually I'll just smelt that into a little bead. So anyway, it's just about trying to get it all. May not be cost effective or viable and using gas and all that sort of stuff, but the gas may be gone, but the gold remains, and the money in that gold, it remains. And as down the track you hang on to it, it becomes worth more money. Alright, I'll keep at it. Right, that's one lot of dried resin. That's been dried out in the oven at 100 degrees. And I can tell you now, it's not a whole lot darker than the original. It's been washed in demineralised water. Now this one's a real micro scale leaching vat. Got some fish tank air stones in the bottom, run on a air pump, fish tank air pump. About 10 litres of water in there, and about 5 pounds of ore, finely crushed up ore. And I just got the pH in that at 11. Got to get the slurry with a pH of about 11. Preferably that's optimum, 11. And the ore was only about 8.3 in the slurry, so I had to bring it up with sodium hydroxide or lye, and I just went a bit over. It went up to about 11 and a half. Now you've got to be real careful with that. So I brought it back down with some lime to about 11.1. So I'm happy with that, I suppose. Now I've got to put the Eco Gold X in that. Just a 20 litre bucket, so it's about half full, 10 litres of water, about 5 pound or so of crushed ore. Now again, the ore is from a gold mine. I panned out all the free mill gold. I crushed it up and I panned it out again, and I got more out of it again. So now I'm going to leach what's left. I think I crushed it up again after I panned it the second time, ground it up. Not sure. But anyway, it's talcum powder stuff, really fine, maybe 50 mesh minus. So, and I'll give that a hand stir every now and again once it's got the Eco Gold X in it. And then what I'm going to do, this time I'm going to put it through activated carbon. Now I've got the activated carbon, about 100 grams in a stocking, a small stocking sock actually, and I might hang that in there as it's agitating. Then again I might pass all of this through it, all of the liquid, once it's done its course, which I think for this one I might let it go probably a full day or even more of agitation, because it's not agitating like my other one that was mixing, definitely beautifully mixing all the time with the drill. This still stays solid on the bottom, so it's a little bit like that leaching, heap leaching with the Eco Gold X. So yeah, I'll probably I'll hang the activated carbon stocking sock in there as it's leaching, and hopefully it doesn't eat it away. It falls in there, collapses in there, I hope not. But anyway, we'll see what eventuates, and I'll get back to you. About 100 grams of activated carbon in that stocking sock. Hang in there. This little magnifier, little jeweler's lit, it makes the beads look about as big as a beach ball under the microscope. There it is there, see? Yeah, if I have a look at them through that little thing, you look down through the lens there. I wished I could show it to you, but you wouldn't be able to see down through it, I don't think. But it makes them look as big as a beach ball, and it shows that there's like lots of stuff stuck to them. So I guess that's what it's supposed to do. That's the difference between a gel bead, hard base, and a macroporous one. The macroporous ones, I think it said, are easier to elute, but the gel hard base ones are better because they have a larger surface area for capture, so that's why they prefer those. But that's a great little device, that thing. I've got 2 of them, so they're unbelievable for looking at ground up ore or anything. You can actually see microscopic grains of gold or anything like that with it. So yeah, great little device, that. That's a close-up of the beads. So that's just through my camera. So through the little 60x magnifications, each one looks like a beach ball. Right, I wash the activated carbon in there. That's demineralised water. We all know what that looks like. Don't say anything. I haven't lost my scrotum. Yeah, although after this experiment, she's just about ready to cut it off, I reckon. Yeah, so that one's a bit darker than that one. Not a lot, but as you can see, it is a bit darker. I put that through, put a second batch through that one. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so welcome to the journey if you're interested. To be continued.